And I'd like to welcome to our next 4 guests to come up to brief us on the policy environment, to provide a policy overview of the vet and training skills realm in India and Australia. Could I welcome to the stage, and then I'll introduce them one by one, Professor Mantha, Mr. R.L. Singh, Colin Walters, Head of Division at the International Education in the department, and Tom Calder from Austrade. Would you all please join us on stage, and then I'll... Colin Walters is replacing Robert Grew, who's the Associate Secretary at the Department of Industry, Innovation, Science, Research and Tertiary Education. But I'm afraid Robert has the flu, so Colin will be a very worthy replacement. And he will address us first. And as you know, Colin is very widely travelled and has got a great deal of depth understanding, particularly of Asia generally, but particularly the Indian scene. And I think he'll be very good to lead us in this session. Professor Mantha, who was guest at our table last night, is a very influential active player in the Indian scene. He has been the chairman acting of the All India Council for Technical Education since August 2009. He's a mechanical engineer by training, very much an IT reformer in the department, implementing the first e-governance project at the department way back in 1995, and widely published and very influential. Mr. Singh is Director of Training at the Ministry of Labour and Employment, and he holds a Master in Electronics and Communications Engineering. He's been serving the Government of India since 1978 and has worked in a range of different leadership positions across the country. He's currently Deputy Director General Training and one of the key people drafting national policy on skills development. And Tom Calder heads up Austrade's education and services team across South Asia, covering India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Nepal. He has been very involved in profiling the Future Unlimited brand and in the vet space, and I know has sort of considerable passions, as I think a lot of the Australians who are involved in this sector do. So I'm going to ask Colin to lead us off and to introduce our guests as they come, and this is where I'll be trying to keep you all to 5 minutes, if I can. So, Colin, to you first.
Thanks, Geraldine, and sorry you got me again, but I will be very brief, just to lead into a discussion of the policy environment and perhaps to follow on from Bruce. As in India, when people talk about the government, they're talking about at least 2 levels. We've got local government, which is the third one too. But by and large in this sector, people are talking about the Commonwealth government or the federal government, which is me. And then they're also talking about the state government, of which we have a number of representatives here today. So the Commonwealth government puts in about 20%, I think, of funding for the TAFE system, or the VET system overall, which is fed out to TAFE colleges and private colleges by different formulas used by the state governments. And then the state governments put in 80%. So you'll see that the policy towards the sector is a combination of influences at both national and at state level. And I know that's the case in India too. That's brought about by a means of ministerial councils where all the ministers responsible come together. And so you'll understand that in such a system, it's not a linear path of progress, and maybe that's perhaps what you picked up from one or two of Bruce's references, and those who know the local scene will know what he was alluding to there. I don't really want to pick up on current issues, but simply to point out just 3 big strands I think there have been in the development of our policy over the years, which are relevant to the discussion of collaboration between us. And there you go. Those 3 are strong industry leadership, nationally agreed quality and standards, and then skills and knowledge relevant for work now and in the future. So industry at the centre, you heard this a bit in the Minister's speech, and people often refer to it. The point I simply wanted to make to you was this: it's not a mantra. To make this work, you actually need mechanisms for industry involvement, and that's what we've tried to provide throughout the system, particularly through Phil Bullock's new organisation, and his old one indeed, which has strong industry representation on it, through the industry skills councils, which cover every sector, where we try to make sure they've all got up-to-date and strong industry representation, and also through the management of individual institutions. So the TAFE here has got its own governing council, and the best TAFEs try to arrange for good, strong industry, local industry leadership on their governing councils, and I think the same applies to the boards of the good private providers. Strong industry involvement at every level, and that means, for example, through the industry skills councils, involvement in the design of the training package, involvement in the design of how qualifications are assessed, and at every level. That's been an absolutely key to the way in which the vet sector in this country has been organised, and I think you might find some interesting comparisons with other vet systems around the world where people haven't seen that as a priority. We have. Secondly, quality and standards. We've changed the mechanisms from time to time, and we're probably 3/4 of the way towards the development of a national standards and quality agency called AISC. It's been going properly since the start of this year, and it regulates international students throughout the country. Domestically, Western Australia and Victoria have still got their own systems of regulation, but with a commitment to harmonise that. We've been trying very hard to achieve that national system, so people in different parts of the country and overseas know that a certificate or a diploma acquired in one state, one institution, is equivalent to what you're going to get across the country. A nationalised system. A qualifications framework, it's been revisited recently, but I hope you'll find we've got one of the most transparent qualifications frameworks in the world, so you can actually assign a value. We've also in the region been the leaders in the development of the diploma supplement system, which is designed to make sure that there is transparency. It's easy to read qualifications that are earned in Australia, and in the future, I hope throughout the region, for work we're doing with APEC to develop a regional framework for qualifications frameworks, occupational licensing and work standards, to try and cover that gap between the finishing of the course and being fully qualified to go out there and terrorise the public as an electrician or something else. 2 minutes. Recognition through international agreements and engagement. From this region, we see very much a joining up in Europe coming around qualifications and quality assurance processes, and we've been trying very hard through APEC, the East Asia Summit, where the Minister was with, including the India Minister of State last week, to say, look, we need a regional architecture here so that we can compete with America and Europe and make sure that the qualifications people earn are valid throughout the Asia-Pacific region. Consumer protection is another issue I won't go into here, but we've recently undertaken some major protections, particularly in the international student area. And then finally, a flexible vet system. And there are two interesting features to the vet system we've got here. One is the average age is, I think, around 29 of our vet students. It's not like the German system, a system for school kids. Basically, the German system is a very good system if you want something that's just aimed at school kids. But what we're looking at is people changing jobs, trades and professions throughout their life. And we've tried to design a system, coming back to what Bruce said about sometimes people don't need a whole qualification, where you can go and get a unit. We're also catering for self-employed people. I think that's particularly relevant for India, where you have a large informal sector. We've also got a large sector of self-employed sole trader people. They don't necessarily want a whole qualification. They want to be able to go in and get what's relevant for them when it's relevant for them. And we think we've probably got a leading system we've tried to develop where people can come in and out and get new training as the job changes. We've all seen IT changing the whole world, every trade and profession. Future things can be anticipated and fitted in within our framework. And so I thought I would also just mention, and we put this together with a few more slides in your pack, there is actually a resource in the Indian students coming here, coming back, which you can look to help develop your own system in the future. We've given you a breakdown of the things which people are studying here, and you'll see there's a lot of business studies going on. They're a relatively small sector around engineering. It's actually worth having a look at the students who are coming down here from India and the qualifications which most of them will be going back, because you've got a resource which I think can help you to develop your skills and trades and qualifications for the future. And that's my 5 minutes, Geraldine. How was that? Thank you.
First of all, the Indian paradigm would be on numbers. And based on that, if I were to give you a brief, at the 10th standard, which the example in GMR also referred, 10 plus 2 ITI and so on. So I'm talking of that 10 years of schooling. We have 30 million students appearing at 10th. And we have about passing rate of 50 to 55% at that level, which means about 15 million students pass 10th, and 15 million students drop out. Probably they come back into the system a little later. If we look at 2 years after that, at 12th, we have about 20 million students appearing at 12th, and again roughly 55% passing out. So I have another 50%, about 10 million students dropping out at 10th. These are huge numbers. Now out of those 10 million who pass 12th, an enrollment, I have about 7 million, which means 3 million after having passed 12th are still outside the system. They do not go to college. Probably they have to support their families and so on. So therefore, it's a numbers which is the essential problem area for policy makers. The GMR example, extremely good in the way it's presented and implemented. Probably if you're looking at that as a model, is extremely difficult to replicate on such large numbers. Now what happens is a pilot, we all know, has certain boundary conditions and works within certain frame of reference. It doesn't happen when you start replicating that problem on a massive number game. The third important aspect is the organized versus the unorganized sector in the country, which is extremely large. The organized sector accounts for just about 15%. And where we have the construction sector, the manufacturing sector, it falls in the organized sector. We have methods and we have structured models to provide training, and the same can't possibly be replicated across the spectrum for unorganized sector. So these are some of the fundamental problems when policymakers have to look at this. There are two other issues which I would want to highlight. The first is about the Indian psychology, where the parents would rather want their child to get into a diploma or a degree, and rather than go into a vocational skill building exercise. So they would rather send their children to some arts college or science college and not do this. So therefore, and even if those degrees and diplomas were not to give them an opportunity for a meaningful employment, even at the cost of that, they would probably still send their children into acquiring degrees and diplomas. On the other side, we have a host of ITIs, we have advanced training institutions and so on, and there the training capacity is not what we would probably desire, and minimal skills that are required, you have problems. So therefore, these are the issues which we have looked at. I have a whole lot of presentation here, which I don't know. So what we have done is we have got into a national vocational education qualification framework, where we have our Challenges, like I said, there are a lot of age-related, the workforce-related challenges we have. So we have skills, requirements, and development. These are the essential areas of concern for us, financing of vocational training. This is the magnitude of the problem which I have cited for you. This is a global scenario where looking at the percentage students in vocational education courses. In India, we have a low percentage here. We also have vocational education currently running in school systems, the national open schooling, and so on. We have, like I said, so many study centers, but the numbers that we are talking about is pretty small. So we need to, these are the new courses introduced by the CBSE schools. We have certain weaknesses in vocational education which have indicated there is mismatch and outdated curriculum and non-acceptance within the societies and so on. So in order to look at a host of problems, we have looked at the National Vocational Education Framework. And the framework essentially brings the skills and the education together. You know, this is the Indian scenario currently. The sectors for interaction that we have identified are the IT, ITS, media, entertainment, a host of sectors which go beyond the organized sector. And there are many new and emerging sectors as well, which we need to look at. Out of these, automotive, the construction, they are in the organized sector, and a lot of structured methods exist, but the rest of the sectors, they really do not. So we also have skilled sector councils, which over a period of time would give the standards, and they would be built into the structure that we have. Our initiatives in the government have been to talk to the sectoral meetings we have conducted, talk to the leaders, and set up smaller committees to come up with curriculum and so on. Now this is the IT telecom sector. We had with the media and entertainment, the hospitality and tourism, construction and infrastructure, and now the framework. Now I'll just take you through 3 slides here, which will tell you exactly what we are trying to do. The principles adopted are localized approach, maximum skills, skills for women, centrally administered, placement assistance, building pathways, and prior learning. Now here, these are the features: industry linked, certification, accreditation, and quality assurance. Then this is the architecture. We move from 9th standard. We have 7 certificate levels. The first certificate level is the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th is the 4th certificate, 5th, 6th, 7th. Now at 5th certificate level, a diploma in vocational education is awarded. At 7th certificate level, a degree in vocational education is awarded. A student can drop out at any certificate level with the skills that he acquires at that level, he can become meaningfully employed. This is a framework which is in place. We're implementing it from 12-13. We have received several online applications. This is a structure. At level 1, you have every certificate has about 1,000 hours of total learning, out of which vocational hours is about 200, formal is about 800, goes on increasing, and at level 7 you have, and so on. So this helps you build both skills as well as education together, and with the flexibility of a student dropping out at any level. So these are and we also allow multi-point entry and exit through the several levels that we have. And each certification level gives him an opportunity to move into a higher level. Now this is the slide which succinctly captures the idea of vocational framework that we have created. The figure on the right would tell you how the student progresses through different levels. So the skill providing has to be done by a skill knowledge provider or the trainer that we are talking about. And we are also in the process of registering trainers for this purpose within the country. And that's where the collaborative opportunities exist in terms of collaboration with different sectors, with different institutions. We have almost 11,000 institutions which come under our ambit, and therefore this is a single point where We can facilitate collaborations at different levels, train the trainers, identifying new sectors, and so on. So this is the way students enroll and they move between the vocational and general education. And this is who does what in the regulatory framework. This is the accreditation that we are looking at, third-party accreditation, the third-party accreditation for the skill providers, for the skill certificates, and the vocational diplomas and the degrees. So this is an executive council that has been formed for vocational education. These are the expected outcomes, enhanced GR, which is pretty low, and that's it. Thank you.
How many minutes? 5 minutes for training 500 million people. What do you expect from Government of India? Then you ask for quality. What will be the quality? I think 5 minutes will be injustice. I'll cross your boundary. India, I can skip these slides. You will be surprised to listen 1.2 billion numbers, so I'll just skip it. In India, there are 17 ministries which are in skill development. Only HRD, Ministry of HRD and Ministry of Labor are not restricted to any sector-specific training. Other ministries are working in their specific sectors. We know that these 3 institutions have been created at the highest level: Prime Minister's National Council, Skill Development Coordination Board, and Skill Development Corporation. We approved a national policy on skill development in 2009, where we have formalized our target of 500 million. It aims to enhance individual employability and strengthen competitiveness. It addresses the issues of outreach, equity and access, quality and relevance, creation of sector skill councils, labor market information systems, and national vocational qualification framework. It has a vision to meet all those expectations. And again, I like to skip this. The vision is to achieve. We cannot just think of always employment. We have to create entrepreneur skills, and we have to have qualification which is quality assured, recognized nationally and internationally, and we have to promote lifelong learning and continuous learning. Just now in the morning, Mr. Parmeshwar in his presentation has mentioned 2% of skilled labor. 2% are formally skilled labor. Basically, in India, if you see, our 95% workers are working in unorganized sector, and only 5% is organized sector, and we all talk of organized sectors only. India is basically a skilled country. All informal sector workers are basically skilled. They are not certified. This is a challenge, and this is a very big challenge for government, how to formally certify and recognize the skills and competencies of unorganized sector workers. Ministry of Labor and Employment, this is how we work. We have 2 councils at the highest level: National Vocational NCVT, National Council for Vocational Training, which looks after, which makes policies for institutional training. Then we have Central Apprenticeship Councils, which formalizes, which makes policies for apprenticeship, which are conducted through industry's participation. And similarly, at the state level, we are federal country. We have a state level, our counterparts as SCVT and SAC. These are the 3 flagship schemes we have: Apprenticeship Council, Apprenticeship Training, Craftsman Training, and Skill Development Initiatives. In Craftsman Training Scheme, see, in India, when we talk, we cannot talk of vocational education and training without ITIs. Here I saw a booklet in the morning which has described all the skill development players of India, but there is no mention of ITI. This was first time surprising for me. I do not know who has worked. You can see the figures from here. We have 9,804 ITIs, out of which 2,264 in government and you will be surprised to see 7,540 ITIs are in private sector with no support, no financial support from the government. Total seating capacity, we have 13.5 lakh, that is 1.3 million. Occupations, we work in 126. Duration varies from 6 months to 3 years. Entry qualification from 8th to 12th. There is no age limit. Minimum age is only 14 years. Similarly, in apprenticeship training, we have 27,000 establishments, 242 trades and occupations. Seats, we have 3.3 lakh, 0.3 million. Trade groups, we have 39. Training duration varies from 3 months to 4 years. Entry qualification is again either from 8th to 12th pass, or students after passing ITI can go to apprenticeship training. Minimum age is 14 years, no upper age limit. This is our third and the latest scheme, basically keeping in the mind the unorganized sector with its presence in India. We have short-term modular employable skills. Here we have calculated the duration in terms of hours, not in months or weeks. We have 1,402 courses designed covering 49 sectors of economy. We have trained so far 1.3 million. This training is conducted through private vocational training providers, and we have registered 7,100 vocational training for the purpose. Assessment is third party. We have 35 assessing bodies, all in private sector. On their recommendation, certificate is awarded by National Council for Vocational Training. These 11 are new entrants. They are being assessed. Assessing bodies are being assessed as of now. I think within a month they will also come in panel. This is one of the prime source of recognition of prior learning and promoting lifelong learning. Here we have a system of taking the candidates directly, carrying out their assessment, and award them certificates. One of the most important component of this scheme is total cost of training and certification is borne by Government of India. We have specialized institutes under DGET, under central government, which are basically conducting training, the trainers program, skill upgradation of in-service trainers, training of supervisor and middle management, training of ITI principals and managers. Key challenges we have. We have qualitative challenges related to quantity. We have 13.8 million entrants per annum in the labor force, whereas training capacity is only 5 million. We have to cover lot of uncovered area, the rural areas, hilly and difficult areas. We too have shortage of trainers. Qualitative problem we have, there are demand and supply mismatch, low industry participation. And we have the systemic issue also, that is no labor market information systems. Sector skill councils are in the process of development. National vocational qualification, yes, we are still discussing and debating. Hopefully a national skills qualification may come up after some time. We are re-engineering the NCVT as National Qualification Authority. We are creating a trade testing board in the line of CBSE. We are going to set up, I think I can leave this first, just 2 minutes. To address the quantitative issues of quantity, we are going to set up 1,500 ITIs and 5,000 skill development centers across the country in PP mode. To meet the shortage of trainers, we are going to set up 15 advanced training institutes and 12 regional vocational training institutes in PPP mode. So we are going to set up, we are working with NSDC for strengthening sector skill councils. As soon as they come up, they are going to be our strength for planning and updating the course curriculum, and they will be helping us in assessment and certification. I think I can stop it here. Thank you very much.
We've got a large footprint across South Asia. We've got 16 offices in India. I'm based in Delhi. My colleague Carla up the back there is in our Mumbai office, and she works closely with me on education training. We've also got Quentin, who's here from our Canberra office, for those of you who know him. Basically, we're there for you to use, and there's quite a few of you in the room who have used us up to this point in time. CIT, Jeff from AISC, Amit, it's great to see you sign your MOU today. So really, we're here for the next couple of days, and we have a session at the World Cafe. If you're interested in having a chat to us about what we're seeing on the ground, opportunities, the challenges, the pitfalls, I know Holmes Glenn has talked a bit about some of those. We can offer you a bit more insight as well, hopefully, to that. So we're seeing a lot of opportunities coming through in the vet space. So we'd love to talk to you about where we see those opportunities on the ground, where they're developing, where you can tap into those, and really just provide a boost to your market entry into India. I will just leave you with one thought though, and it's probably been fleshed out a bit in the presentations already, is that India really, it is a long-term market. So if you think you're going to go in there and get some really easy wins, you're probably a little bit off the track there. It really does require dedication, commitment and flexibility, and I think if you talk to people who've been there and got a successful model off the ground, I think they'd bring those points through. And I'll just use Jeff from AAMC here, and as a bit of a plug for Austrade as well. Jeff came up on a mission in 2008, I think it was, with about 16 other institutions. From those 16, only 3 went back, and we're in 2012 now, and Jeff's now signing deals on the ground in India. So I'll just use that example. Jeff, I hope you don't mind me doing that, just as a way to really, showcase the time, the energy, and really the groundwork you need to do to be successful in India. And I think your Indian partners would appreciate and agree with that as well. So I think that was 2 minutes, Geraldine. Didn't need to use that sign. Anyway, thanks very much, everyone. As I said, myself, Carla and Quentin will be here over the 2 days if you'd like to come up and have a chat. Thank you.
Well, these compliant Australians, they're marvellous. Look, thank you very much. And look, I'm sorry, I know the 2 minutes, 5 minutes is dreadful, but I did give you little bits of licence. But I must say, I did think Mr Singh's plea about the 95% in unorganised areas was very interesting, and I thought Professor Mantha talking about the Indian psychology and the preference for a skills diploma or a credential, even at the cost of employment, was also really fascinating.